Hello, and welcome to Surviving the Narcissist. This is Wanda, and on this channel, we look at narcissism from a personal, I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor, thriver, overcomer, a professional, and a spiritual perspective. And on this video, we're going to talk about 5 ways of what narcissistic abuse does to us. Because, like I said, I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor. So, the first thing it does is that it literally can cause brain damage. And how causes brain damage is because you're constantly going through abuse, physical abuse, um, mental abuse with the gaslighting, the lying. In my case, I was the scapegoat, the black sheep of the family, the target. And then, so all of that causes your brain to either become depressed and or go into a hypervigilant mode from fight or flight. So that's what narcissistic abuse um, can do. And it's also been shown how your brain improves, or when they take brain scans, once you start healing from the narcissistic abuse, it's a change in your brain function. The second way is how it affects you is that you become part of a cycle. And when you become part of a cycle, because let's say you were abused from a child. In my case, it started with my family of origin. Or let's say you enter relationships with narcissists when you go to school or you work, or if you marry a narcissist or marry into a narcissistic abuse family, then you become a part of the cycle because sometimes you're the target, and then you try to learn ways to not to be a target, whether it's people pleasing, um, uh, going into denial, but it becomes a cycle and you become a part of the cycle until you remove yourself from the relationship or you start practicing some of the things that we talked about in the other videos, like gray rocking, setting boundaries. But it's a cycle. It's a cycle of abuse. And another thing it can cause is because of that cycle of abuse, like I mentioned, is you become a people pleaser because you're trying to function in that environment. And that's why we say you go from a survivor to a thriver and an overcomer. So to survive the abuse of the narcissist, you have to figure out a way to survive. So whether it's people pleasing, um, denying the abuse, going along to get along, um, try not to be in my case, I was the black sheep and the scapegoat, but sometimes I would try to go along so I wouldn't be the black sheep. And so you're basically finding ways to cope with the abuse. And that's where the addictions come in for a lot of people. Because when you, whatever a person drug of choice is, or they're in a drugstore, that addictiveness helps them to deal with the abuse. Another way that another thing that narcissistic abuse does to you, the first was it can literally cause brain damage. Second is you become part of the cycle of abuse. And so not only is it the people pleasing, but a lot of times you might start to self sabotage. you have low self-esteem. And the cycle is, or they expect you to be the black sheep, so you're going to act like the black sheep. They say that uh, everything that goes wrong with the family, you're the scapegoat, is your fault. So you might start acting out what's spoken over you. So the fourth thing that narcissistic abuse does to you is it can cause post-traumatic stress disorder. As a matter of fact, it's called the narcissistic abuse syndrome. And some people say PTSD, which is post traumatic stress disorder, and some people say PTSDC, which is complex. Because living in a uh, being around narcissists and their behavior is very traumatic. That's what caused the trauma. So your trauma and our trauma was caused by narcissistic abuse. And I'm going to go in another video and give you some more information about narcissist abuse syndrome, about the behaviors and why you act the way you act, or why we act the way we act, and what we can do. The fifth thing is changes to your self-esteem. Anybody that has been in a relationship with a narcissist has very low self-esteem. When I started my recovery process, I found out that I had self-loathing, and self-loathing is no self-esteem. And over the years, and because of various things I've done professional work, I've done self work, I've done 12 steps, I've done Christ centered. I went from just being a survivor. That's where my self-esteem was destroyed, to a thriver. And eventually I did things to improve my self-esteem. And now I am an overcomer. And that's what I want for you. That's the purpose of this channel. Because narcissistic abuse is real. It's a family disease, but it can be outside the family. And when people say they don't believe you, I believe you. It's true. It really happened. And if you want more information about Vision of Recovery, which is a coaching service I provide for people who are narcissistic abuse survivors, please visit my website at www.visionofrecovery.com. I offer a free 15-minute consultation to see if you want me to help you or work with me on your journey to healing. And also, please comment, like, and share. What has happened to you because of the narcissistic abuse? Or were you surprised to learn that narcissistic abuse could cause brain damage? Because when I first learned that, I was very, very surprised. Some of the other things I kind of knew, but I didn't know about that. So until next time, thank you for watching and be blessed.